Hey Trinity Youth, it's great to be with you guys again. I'm filming this on the last day of February. It is March tomorrow, and I swear this whole week I thought it was March, or I felt like it was March. I knew it was February, but it just felt like March. And February, a very astute seventh grader said this to me this week and said, February just feels like it's been the longest month ever. And I agree with her. I am ready for spring. I'm ready for warmer weather. I'm ready for life to be more normal again. I can't wait for that. But yeah, it's still February. Tomorrow, when you guys will be watching this, it'll be March. So we've been going through the Gospel of Mark, and I get to talk to you today about one of my favorite passages, or it has one of my favorite verses in it, and it's a verse that I always get mixed up, which hopefully I don't mix it up when I try and say it to you guys, but it's such a beautiful picture. It's the verse where Jesus says, the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others, and it's just such a beautiful phrase. Like it's the perfect phrase to describe what Jesus did and Jesus's life. He came to serve others. He came to model what it looks like to put others first and to love others, and to really live the kingdom life that God has for us. So I'm going to read this 10 short verses, and then I'm going to talk about it. So up until this point, we're in Mark 10. Up until this point, Jesus has been traveling around. He's performed a lot of miracles. There was that miracle, if you guys are reading and keeping up with us, there was the miracle where he cast out demons from the Gerasene demoniac, as he's commonly known, sends them into pigs, and then this man who has been possessed by demons for a long time is all of a sudden normal and healed. And then we've got the story about the woman bleeding for 12 years and Jesus raising a dead girl to life. Like Mark is filled with so many stories of Jesus' healing. And healing is really a picture of God's kingdom. It's a picture of what life will one day look like and how Jesus wants to make us whole and restore us, whether it's physically, spiritually, emotionally. Jesus is all about healing. But this sermon is not about healing. My little sermonette is not about healing. This is about serving others. And one of the ways that Jesus served others is how he healed. But so these 10 verses, Mark records an interesting conversation between Jesus and his disciples. So we'll start with verse 35. It's Mark 10:35 if you're following along. Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came over and spoke to him. Teacher, they said, we want you to do us a favor. What is your request? He asked. They replied, when you sit on your glorious throne, we want to sit in places of honor next to you, one on your right and the other on your left. It's a pretty bold request. But Jesus said to them, you don't know what you are asking. Are you able to drink from the bitter cup of suffering I am about to drink? Are you able to be baptized with the baptism of suffering I must be baptized with? Oh yes, they replied, we are able. Then Jesus told them, you will indeed drink from my bitter cup and be baptized with my baptism of suffering. But I have no right to say who will sit on my right or my left. God has prepared those places for the ones he has chosen. So James and John, two of Jesus' disciples, they come to Jesus with this very bold request and ask him to grant them positions of honor sitting on his right and his left when he's on the throne one day. And he's like, you don't know what you're asking. It's not his place to grant those positions of honor, but he says to be honored, like Jesus had to go through a lot of suffering to get on that throne. We know the story of him going to the cross, of him not just dying on the cross, but enduring humiliation and beating before being crucified on the cross, the most shameful death possible in that time. And he's essentially saying, like, you don't know what you're asking when you're asking for those positions of honor. It's not an easy road to get there. It's not an easy road to follow Jesus, because God doesn't promise that life is going to be easy when you follow him. It's good, but there is suffering that can come. And especially Jesus' disciples, we know they suffered a lot for his message. They went out and spread the word, and all of them except one died a really horrible death because they were killed for their beliefs. And so Jesus is like, I don't know if you know what you're asking. And they think they do, but I don't know if they actually did. So verse 41 goes on. When the 10 other disciples heard what James and John had asked, they were indignant, naturally. So Jesus called them together and said, you know that the rulers in this world lord it over their people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. But among you, it will be different. I think this part is so, so important. Because just think of leaders, think of power, think of how too often in this world, people in power abuse their power and mistreat the people they're supposed to take care of and serve. And Jesus is saying that's not you. Like, you'll be leaders, but that's not how you are going to lead. And the way he says they're going to lead is very backwards. It seems very backwards to us, because he says, whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant. And then he goes even further and says, and whoever wants to be first among you must be the slave of everyone else. Does he mean being an actual slave? No. But he's using that example because a slave in that time was the bottom of the rung, the lowest of the low, like no rights, no dignity, no humanity. And he's saying, not that we shouldn't have dignity or humanity, but he's saying you have to put others first so that it looks like, in comparison, you are, like, they are so much higher than you are. Like, it needs to look like you are truly the last because you're putting others first. Not in a, I think this can get misunderstood because it's not in a self-deprecating way. It's not like, oh, I'm going to tell myself I'm so terrible and think of myself as this person who just is going to get, like, walked over by all these other people. It's not like that. It's just, your serving should look so radical that people notice. The way you put others first should be so radical that it's attractive to people because they want to be part of that. Because the alternative is we're all in a dog-eat-dog world. Like, you guys, either you are in middle school right now or you've been through middle school, and middle school can be this place where you step on each other's, on your friends, on other people to climb the social ladder. You want recognition, you want to be liked, and that's normal and natural, but it's not good when you hurt other people to climb the social ladder, to be recognized, to be first, to be liked. And so Jesus is saying true leadership is serving others. True greatness is putting others first. And then here's the verse. He ends it by saying, for even the Son of Man, he's talking about himself, Jesus, even Jesus, God's Son, literally gave up heaven to come to earth. Even Jesus came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many. So this, God's word, the gospel, Jesus' message is really radical. And for some of you, if you're like me, you've heard this for years, for most of your life. I know it's important to serve, and it can become it can become easy to dismiss, easy to misunderstand, but in practice, it's actually really radical. It's really beautiful. It's really attractive. Because aren't you attracted to people? Don't you want to be around people who care for you and put you first and listen to you and give you the time of day? Like, that is what is going to change this world, is when we start putting other people first and start caring for them and making sure that we're not hoarding everything to ourselves and just, like, whether it's power or money or whatever, but sharing it with those around us. It's a backwards kind of gospel, and it's a beautiful gospel. And I'll just end with this. A few years ago, some of you may remember, but we said, Josh, Rico, and I, you're never more like Jesus than when you serve. And that could look like going to a soup kitchen. It could also look like doing the dishes for your family when not being asked. It could look like sitting with the kid that no one wants to sit with at lunch. It could look like, watching what you say and not using your words to tear other people down, whether you're around them or not around them. I think that's serving others. That's putting others first, when you don't tear them down to make yourself look better. I mean, there's so many ways. And I think that is what is needed to change this world. I think the world will look so different when the church, when followers of Jesus really, and there are Christians who are doing this for sure, but when we really start to put others first and model how Jesus served people, you're never more like Jesus than when you serve. So that's what I'll end with. I hope you have a great huddle discussion. I've got some questions that your leader has talking about serving and leadership and whatever that looks like. So I hope you have a great and productive huddle discussion. Love you guys. Can't wait to be in person again. Have a great day.